Have you ever felt a sudden chill crawl up your spine, even though the room was warm? Or maybe you've glanced at a photo and spotted something or someone that shouldn't be there. If so, you're not alone. Across the world, people have experienced moments they can't explain. Moments that make us question what we know and wonder what we don't. And in an age where nearly everyone carries a camera in their pocket, the unexplainable is being captured more than ever before. Welcome to a journey unlike any other. In this video, we're diving into the chilling world of ghost sightings caught, not just in stories, but on camera. These are not just legends or tales passed down through generations. These are moments frozen in time, filmed by ordinary people, in ordinary places, where something extraordinary happened, something that made them hit record, something that still haunts them today. But before we begin, let's be clear. This isn't about proving or disproving ghosts. It's not about convincing you to believe or not believe. It's about opening a door to mystery, to the unknown, to the strange and the spine-tingling. It's about exploring those eerie moments that make us pause and ask, what if? Because whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's something undeniably powerful about stories that challenge the limits of what we understand. And when those stories are captured on film, when we can see and hear the unexplained for ourselves, something shifts inside us. Our curiosity is awakened, our imagination lights up, and sometimes we feel a shiver that reminds us we don't know everything. Not yet. So get comfortable, but not too comfortable. Dim the lights, turn up the volume, and prepare yourself. Because what you're about to see and hear might just make you look at the world a little differently. This is captured on camera. Real ghost sightings you won't believe. It started, like so many things in life, with an ordinary night. A teenager named Emily was scrolling through her phone in her bedroom, the soft glow of the screen lighting up her face. Her dog, Baxter, lay quietly at her feet. The house was still. Her parents were asleep downstairs. Everything felt normal until it didn't. She had propped her phone against a stack of books, recording a makeup tutorial for her small but growing YouTube channel. As she spoke into the camera, something shifted in the background. A shadow, subtle at first, moved across the wall behind her. She didn't notice it at the time, but when she played back the footage later, her heart stopped. There, just over her left shoulder, a dark figure glided across the room. Silent, without form or purpose, before vanishing into the corner. She froze. The air had felt fine. Baxter hadn't barked. But the figure was there clearly, undeniably there. Stories like Emily's aren't rare anymore. With cameras constantly rolling in homes, on streets, in forests, and abandoned buildings, more and more strange occurrences are being captured. It's as if the invisible world is tired of being ignored. And maybe, just maybe, it's trying to be seen. Take for example a video from a hotel in Japan. Security footage showed a man walking into his room, alone. But as the door closed behind him, a second figure, pale, featureless, almost translucent, slid in just before it latched shut. Hotel staff reviewed the footage multiple times, convinced it was a glitch, until they entered the room and found the man unconscious on the floor. No signs of struggle, no intruders, but when he awoke, hours later, he mumbled something that chilled them all. She wouldn't stop staring. Then there's the tale of an old church in Ireland. Abandoned for over a century, the building had long been the subject of local legends. One night, a group of amateur ghost hunters entered with infrared cameras and audio recorders. Most of the night was uneventful cold air. Strange sounds, the usual, but at exactly 3:17 a.m., one camera, pointed at the altar, caught a figure in robes, slowly emerging from the shadows. It moved without sound, without clear features, and stopped directly in front of the camera just inches away, and then it smiled. The team ran, terrified, dropping equipment as they fled. The footage remained uploaded later to the internet, where millions watched, paused, replayed, and debated what they saw. Skeptics, of course, offer explanations. Light distortions, camera errors, deliberate hoaxes, and yes, some of these can be explained, but others linger. They don't fit into neat categories. They defy logic, and the people who filmed them, they're not attention seekers. They're ordinary folks, like you and me, whose lives took a strange turn for just a moment and were never quite the same after. One man, a truck driver in Nevada, left his dashcam running overnight while he slept in his cab. In the early hours, the camera captured a woman in white approaching from the desert, barefoot, her head tilted unnaturally to the side. She stood by his window for several minutes, unmoving, before disappearing without a trace. He didn't hear her. No footsteps, no knocking. But the next morning, he found a handprint on the glass, small, delicate, and icy cold to the touch, even in the desert heat. These moments aren't just spooky, they touch something deeper in us. They force us to consider the possibility that reality is more layered than we think. That maybe we live not in a world of absolutes, but of blurred lines. Lines between what we know and what we sense, between light and shadow, between the living and the dead. And sometimes, those lines get crossed. A viral clip from a school in Argentina showed desks sliding across the room, one by one, while a janitor stood frozen in the doorway. He filmed in disbelief as chairs toppled, lights flickered, and an invisible force seemed to sweep through the hallway. Later, he quit his job. Said he couldn't work in a place where something watches. The idea that we are not alone is as old as humanity itself. Every culture, every people, has its ghost stories, tales of ancestors lingering, of spirits trapped, of energies that refuse to fade. But now, with smartphones and surveillance, these stories aren't just told, they're shown, frame by frame, shadow by shadow. And the most unnerving part, they're not always in far-off places. Sometimes, they're in homes like yours, in quiet suburbs, in small apartments, in places you pass every day without a second thought. A young couple in Ohio had just moved into a new house. They laughed off the creaks and groans of the old building until their baby monitor caught a whisper, a voice, low and raspy, repeating the same word, leave, night after night, same voice. When they moved the crib to another room, the whispers followed. They left the house weeks later, unable to take it anymore. And when they reviewed the monitor recordings, the whisper changed. One final time? Good. Sometimes, the fear isn't just what's caught on camera but what's watching behind it. There was a time when stories of ghosts were dismissed as mere campfire tales, a way to thrill and entertain in the absence of electricity and internet. But what happens when the glow of the fire is replaced by the cold, clear lens of a camera and it still captures something that shouldn't be there? Let's move to a quiet town in Sweden, where a single mother named Clara had installed a motion-activated baby cam in her daughter's room. Her daughter, Mia, barely 3 years old, had begun waking in the night, crying, and pointing toward the corner of her room. Clara assumed it was nightmares until one morning she checked the footage. At 2:43 a.m., the motion sensor had triggered. The video showed Mia sitting upright, staring into the corner. A moment later, a faint figure appeared, tall, thin, and shimmering faintly, as if made of fog. It stood there, silent, while Mia giggled. Then the figure vanished. Clara moved Mia into her own bedroom that same day. She still keeps the footage but refuses to watch it again. What is it that children seem to see more clearly than we do? Many paranormal researchers suggest that children, unburdened by logic and skepticism, are more open to perceiving things adults have long blocked out. Their innocence, their openness, it may allow them to glimpse the unseen. And sometimes, cameras seem to act as a bridge, showing us what we've trained ourselves not to see. In Mexico City, a group of teens were exploring a condemned hospital, documenting their adventure for their growing TikTok channel. The hospital had been closed for decades. Dust hung in the air like a veil. But as they laughed and joked their way through the empty halls, one of them suddenly froze, pointing down a corridor. The camera turned. A nurse recognizable by her dated uniform stood at the far end, her face obscured by shadows. She did not move. She did not speak. Then, she turned and vanished into a locked room. When they reviewed the footage later, frame by frame, they noticed something impossible. The nurse's feet never touched the ground. Events like these raise an uncomfortable possibility that the spirits of some who died in pain or confusion may remain, replaying their last moments like a record stuck on repeat. Not angry, not aware, just present. But not all spirits seem unaware. A couple in South Korea documented strange noises in their apartment over several weeks. Tapping, whispers, objects falling without explanation. So, they set up cameras, one in each room. Most nights, nothing happened. But on the 13th night, they captured something chilling. While asleep, the man rose from bed, eyes closed, and walked to the hallway. There, he stood still for almost 7 minutes, staring into the bathroom mirror. Then, his hand lifted and pointed slowly, deliberately into the lens of the camera. When they woke the next morning, he had no memory of getting up. The footage showed not sleepwalking, but something else. Possession? Influence? Something had guided him to stare into the mirror, and then at us. The concept of haunted mirrors isn't new. Throughout history, reflective surfaces have been viewed as portals, gateways between worlds. Ancient traditions even covered mirrors after a death, believing they could trap or release a soul. Maybe cameras now function the same way, a mirror to another side. One of the most famous modern incidents occurred in London, where a construction crew, renovating a Victorian townhouse, found a hidden room behind a false wall. Inside, dust-covered furniture sat undisturbed for over a century. Intrigued, the foreman left a camera running overnight. The next morning, the footage revealed that at precisely 3:11 a.m., the chair in the center of the room slid 2 feet on its own. A child's laugh echoed faintly. And on the final frame of the recording, the reflection of a girl could be seen in the cracked window, though no one had entered the house. The footage made headlines. Paranormal investigators flooded the site, but no further activity was recorded. Just one moment captured forever, and maybe that's all it takes. Just one moment to change everything we believe. A common thread among these sightings is time most occur in the hours between 2 and 4 a.m., what many refer to as the witching hour. Science calls it coincidence. Sleep researchers might mention REM cycles, hallucinations, sleep paralysis. But again and again, cameras show the same eerie behavior across different cultures, languages, and continents. Could it be that in the stillest part of the night, when the world is quiet, something stirs. A woman in Brazil installed a security cam outside her house after hearing strange noises at night. One evening, the camera caught something surreal. A figure dressed in rags stood just outside the gate, swaying gently. Its face was obscured by long, tangled hair. It did not trigger the motion lights, and when her husband stepped outside with a flashlight, the figure disappeared instantly. But the figure was there, visible, solid, but gone in an instant. She wasn't alone. Thousands commented on the clip online, sharing similar encounters. Some claimed the figure matched descriptions from folklore: a weeping spirit, a harbinger, a warning. Is it possible, then, that spirits aren't just relics of the past, but active participants in our world? That what we've labeled ghosts may be something else, entirely something ancient, intelligent, maybe even sentient? In New Orleans, a city heavy with spiritual history, a jazz musician captured a recording in his empty studio. He had been experimenting with analog tape, trying to capture an authentic sound, but when he played back a solo he had just recorded, a second trumpet echoed his melody. It wasn't an effect. No one else had been there. And the second trumpet, it played notes he hadn't written, notes that perfectly harmonized with his own. When he isolated the track, the sound was faint, distant, and undeniably beautiful. He says it was the best duet he's ever played. Perhaps not all spirits come with screams and shadows. Perhaps some just want to be heard. And perhaps we, armed with our cameras and our curiosity, are finally learning to listen. Some say that belief in ghosts is a product of fear, a way to explain what we don't understand. Others believe it's a form of hope, a way to stay connected to what we've lost. But what if the truth lies somewhere in between? What if the very act of recording, of watching, of seeking, is what opens the door? In a quiet coastal village in the Philippines, a fisherman named Liao set up a motion-sensitive trail camera to catch whoever had been stealing supplies from his boat. For several nights, the camera triggered, but no one appeared. Then, one stormy night, the camera recorded something he could not explain. A pale figure emerged from the shoreline, barefoot, with clothes that fluttered as if underwater, even in the stillness of the night air. It moved toward the boat, placed a hand on the hull, and simply, stood. No theft, no sound, just presence. Then it turned, its eyes reflecting the flash of the infrared lights that seemed to glow, and it disappeared into the waves. Leo never fished alone again. Stories like his spark a question that sits quietly in the back of our minds. If ghosts are real, what do they want? Are they trapped? Curious? Angry? Do they know we're watching? In Germany, a man hiking through the Black Forest decided to livestream his journey. He wasn't a ghost hunter, just a nature lover. As he wandered deeper into the forest, his chat began to fill with strange messages. There's someone behind you. Who's that in the trees? Did you see that shadow? He didn't believe them, thought it was just trolling. But when he got home and replayed the stream, frame by frame, he saw it. A woman, partially hidden behind a tree, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, watching him from a distance, her expression unreadable. In several frames, her face seemed to change, smiling, frowning, blank. He returned to that spot days later. There was no one, just the forest. But the comments still come. She's still watching. One of the strangest things about these sightings is how often they come uninvited. No seance, no ritual, no provocation, just everyday people, living everyday lives until the camera reveals otherwise. A family in Italy bought a used baby monitor from an online auction. They installed it, tested it, and all seemed fine. Until one night, they heard a faint lullaby playing from the monitor's speaker. At first, they assumed it was a signal from another nearby device, but the tune was unfamiliar, and no one in the neighborhood had the same monitor. Then, one night, the screen flickered on by itself. A rocking chair, which they didn't own, creaked slowly in the frame. A voice, distant but clear, whispered in an old dialect, "She's not alone." The couple unplugged the device the next morning and threw it away. Technology, it seems, has become the new medium for the old world. Ghosts no longer need candles or chance. They have cameras, sensors, speakers, and while some footage can be faked, some too easily dismissed, others feel real in ways that shake us. It's not the clarity of the image, but the reaction of the people, the trembling voice, the silence after the scream, the disbelief. In South Africa, a wildlife photographer caught a ghost, not in a house or hallway, but in the middle of the savannah. Reviewing drone footage of elephants near an ancient baobab tree, he noticed something strange, a figure standing on a rock. It looked human, but with features that shifted subtly, every second as if it couldn't hold a single form. When the drone passed overhead, the figure didn't move, but in one single frame, just one, it looked up directly into the lens. His heart raced. He hadn't seen it while filming, but now, he couldn't unsee it. He never flew that drone again. What makes these stories so unsettling is that they defy our rules. We expect spirits to haunt cemeteries, to linger in old castles, to creak down Victorian hallways. But these apparitions appear in forests, in deserts, in modern homes and public spaces. They follow no script, and they appear where they want, when they want. An artist in New York set up a camera in her studio, hoping to catch a raccoon she believed was sneaking in at night. What she recorded instead was deeply disturbing. In the middle of the night, her paintings began to sway slightly. A wind? But from where? Then one of the canvases fell, revealing behind it a face drawn in charcoal that she hadn't painted. She reviewed the footage over and over. The face appeared gradually, over hours, as if drawn by invisible hands. She moved studios the next day. Are spirits creative? Do they try to communicate? Or are these manifestations just echoes, residual energy replaying like film reels stuck in a loop? Some researchers speak of intelligent hauntings versus residual hauntings. One is aware, responsive, interactive. The other is like a memory imprinted on space and time. But cameras don't differentiate. They record what they see, what they're allowed to see, and the more we watch, the more we find. A college student in Canada left her webcam on while she took a nap during a study break. When she returned to her computer, she noticed the recording had been running for nearly 2 hours. Curious, she skipped through the footage. At one point, around the 47-minute mark, she saw herself lying asleep. But then, in the background, the door opened slowly. Though she lived alone, a figure stepped in. Not walked, stepped, with jerky stuttering movements, as if moving between frames. It leaned over her, whispered something inaudible, then vanished. She never heard or saw anything, but she moved out within the week. The sheer volume of these stories, from all over the globe, can't be ignored. Some can be explained, some faked, but not all. Not when there are witnesses, not when there's emotion, not when the footage shows something we weren't meant to see. And maybe that is the real story, that the world is far stranger than we've allowed ourselves to admit. That behind the thin curtain of our day-to-day lives lies something else. Something watching, waiting, maybe trying to reach us, or maybe just reminding us that it's still there. In the end, all of this, every frame, every flicker, every whisper caught in the night forces us to ask a question far more important than do ghosts exist. The real question is, what if they do? What if that blur in the hallway wasn't your eyes playing tricks? What if that voice on the recording wasn't background noise? What if, all this time, we've been surrounded by something we can't explain, but that doesn't mean it isn't real? In Norway, a woman named Ingrid recorded her elderly father's final hours. He had asked her to. He said he wanted to leave a message. She agreed, hoping to create something meaningful, something that would bring her peace after he passed. But in the last moments of the recording, as his breathing slowed, something unbelievable happened. A light appeared near the ceiling, not bright, but visible. It hovered, pulsated, and then shot upward and vanished. Seconds later, he exhaled for the last time. The camera kept rolling. Ingrid didn't notice it until weeks later, when she had the strength to watch the footage. But once she did, she couldn't look away. She still can't explain it, but she doesn't feel fear. She feels gratitude. Maybe not all ghosts are lost souls. Maybe some are guides, witnesses, visitors. We always assume that if spirits are real, they must be trapped or tormented. But what if some choose to remain not because they're stuck, but because they still care, still watch, still love? There's a growing number of recordings where the presence doesn't feel threatening at all. In Argentina, a man mourning his wife's passing kept a voice recorder near her favorite chair. It was a habit more than anything, a way to feel close to her. One day, while reviewing a recording, he heard a sound he hadn't heard in months. Her laughter, light, familiar, clear, not a memory, not a hallucination. And when he played it again, it was gone. Arresta, as if she only wanted to say goodbye one last time. We have come to depend on technology to explain everything. We ask it to define us, to answer for us, to prove for us. But what happens when it shows us something that can't be explained? Something that doesn't fit the algorithm? The truth is, ghosts don't follow our rules. They don't appear on command. They don't show up just because the camera is on. They appear when they choose. And they leave traces not only in pixels or sound waves but in our hearts, in our memories, in our questions. A man in rural India shared a video that made international headlines. While filming a sunrise meditation, his camera caught a young girl walking into frame, barefoot, wearing a school uniform. She smiled, waved, and walked out of sight. Curious, he asked the local villagers if they knew her. They didn't. When he showed them the video, one old woman began to cry. She said it was her granddaughter, who had drowned in the river 5 years earlier, on her way to school. She still takes the same path, the woman whispered. She loved that walk. Not all things recorded are meant to scare. Some are meant to remind, and in the most powerful way, that's what these sightings do. They remind us that we don't know everything, that mystery still lives among us, that maybe, despite all our certainty in science and skepticism, we are still just beginning to scratch the surface of what's really out there. As you watch these clips, as you listen to these stories, ask yourself, why now? Why so many? Why here? Could it be that we've always been watched, but only now do we have the tools to notice? And if so, what comes next? We've explored shadowy hallways, deserted forests, quiet bedrooms, and haunted hearts. We've listened to whispers caught in the static, seen figures in flickering frames, and heard stories that defy the boundaries of what we thought was possible. But more than that, we've asked questions. And maybe that's the most powerful part of all. This isn't about scaring you. It's not even about convincing you. It's about awakening something ancient within you. That small voice, that wonders, that hopes, that fears, that still believes in mystery. Because maybe mystery is what keeps life magical. Maybe uncertainty is what keeps us human. So the next time you feel a chill, or catch a movement in the corner of your eye, or hear your name when no one is around, don't panic. Just pause and ask yourself, what if? Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stay curious, stay open, and whatever you do, keep the camera rolling.